Okay, and here we are again. This is Karaite Insights, and I am in the car again. And I am actually very much. I tried an experiment about 2 days ago, seeing if this Facebook Live would be a good medium for getting across my points of view, Karaite points of view, if we want to call it that. And so far, I've been happy with the results. It's a really good way to get information across. I understand that Twitter has a similar kind of process through Periscope, and I think even that YouTube is working on something like that. And you know what? Instead of looking at my ugly face all the time, let me turn it around. You can watch the view as I right here. So sorry about that stuff in the way. Maybe that's not such a good idea. At any rate, so what was I going to say? So I'm very much enjoying this medium so far, and I hope to use it more in the future. So, what do I want to talk about today? What's on my mind, and what do I want to talk about? Well, you know, for the past, I mean, it's a completely ongoing process, but for the past couple of years, especially, I've really kind of refining my views, and I've stayed kind of quiet over the past couple of years because I feel like there are times in a person's life where they need to kind of go inside and establish, kind of think for themselves and establish their views, and then come back when they've kind of, regrouped with their views, and then get them out in the world again. And I'm sure this will be an ongoing process. And maybe, now I'm feeling, a need to kind of share some views with the world, and maybe I'll get to a point where I say, okay, no, I need to kind of go back inside and kind of take breaks for myself and kind of reestablish my views and evolve or metamorphose into the next version of myself, because we're all constantly evolving and metamorphose whatever into the next version of ourselves. So at any rate, a lot of my views that maybe 10-15 years ago were kind of I was kind of forming them. They were kind of solidifying. They were kind of coagulating or coming together, as we might say in Hebrew. They were litgamesh. They were kind of crystallizing. That translation into English have now come together more. And I'm sure again, and when I look back in 10 years, I'll say, oh, they were still kind of in a kind of nascent stage and have come together even more. And that's an ongoing process throughout our life. But one of the things that has really struck me over the past number of years is, and has really shaped my view of what the Torah is and what the Torah is all about, is just the battle of good and evil. I know it sounds so simple. Everything that I have to say is really simple. If you look at my videos, they're all really simple points. There's no complexity. There's no airs of arrogance of the intellectuals that can sit down and start talking philosophy and complicated intellectual concepts with lots of Latin phrases and lots of Latin words, and they can sound like they know what they're talking about, and they're very intelligent and all that kind of stuff. And that's not my style, and that's not what I believe. Everything is really simple. The Torah is really simple. Yehovah, it's really, really simple. He just wants people to be good. And so the basic bottom line of the Torah is the idea of good versus evil. That's it, right? I've placed before you good and evil, and choose good. I've placed before you life and death. Choose life. It's as simple as that. And so we find ourselves in a world where, get back on my face maybe. Ourselves in a world where there is a battle between good and evil, and quite frankly, a lot of times it seems like evil has the upper hand. That everyone around us seems to be completely consumed in evil, even if they're not doing it on purpose. They're so brainwashed by the power brokers of evil, right? I mean, there's a lot of talk in the United States, and I think that talk has already reached Israel. I've been in Israel in about 2 years. So I don't know for sure, but I think the talk is already reaching to Israel about the globalism. And, some people are completely in love with globalism, and I find those tend to be either very young, naive, brainwashed people, or they tend to be evil people. You can really break it down into that, right? Young and naive, that that already goes without saying, that young people tend to be naive. They don't have yet wisdom and experience in life, and so they tend to go with philosophies or ideas that seem good, right? And that actually in the end lead to a hell on earth, right? So liberalism, or many elements of liberalism, seem so nice and kind and good, but and so young people will kind of be attracted to them, but in the end they can kind of lead to a hell on earth, because they don't take into account the realities of the structure that Yehovah has put into the world, that there's need to be certain rules, certain separations, not everything can just be lovey-dovey and huggy kissy and everything's good and everything goes, right? But young people don't realize that yet. Okay, the brainwashed are those who who are basically completely plugged into the matrix. They sit and watch the network news programs every night. They read the New York Times. They've been reading the New York Times for 50 years. They believe everything that's told to them on network news, and everything that's not told to them on anything that's told from another source is that's conspiracy theory. That's crap. That's garbage. And so those are the brainwashed, and those account for a large portion of the people who are plugged into this matrix of evil, we can call it. And then you have the outright evil, the ones that are running the show, that actually they know better. They're older and they know better, but they're just so taken by the lust for control, the lust for power, the lust for fame, the lust for money, the lust for being in the in crowd. It all comes back to the same thing again and again and again. And so it seems that the world around us is given over to evil, and it seems a lot of times that the good people in the world, the ones who are, shall we say, both good and unplugged from the matrix, are a minority, right? I mean, if you find someone who you're on the same wavelength with them, you're talking truth with them, and you see that they're responding, and then you say, oh, that's another one that's that's unplugged from the matrix. I like using that movie as a. Let me see. Just get over to this highway here. I'll put it back on the view in front of me just to change the scenery. So those that are not young and naive, or brainwashed, or outright evil, seem to be a minority. It seems that the whole world is kind of taken over by evil everywhere we go, right? We wake up in the world and there's constant fear. We don't know what's going to happen next. We in our own personal lives, there's a lot of economic insecurity. Where's the next dollar going to come from? There's a lot of political insecurity. What's going to happen, in this country, in the world? There's a lot of fear of the government and the police. They no longer are the protectors of the people. They are the oppressors, the tyrannical oppressors of the people. So people wake up and they're terrified of the government and the police, and so they change their behavior, or they change their thoughts even, to be in line with what the government wants them to believe, think, and do. So they're basically brainwashed automata, like in 1984, completely controlled by a tyrannical government, a tyrannical ruling class. Okay, but and this is all spoken about all over the place. Anyone who watches, I'm a big fan of some of the alternative media. I happen to be a huge fan of Alex Jones and Infowars. I read Drudge every day, Drudge Report, all this kind of stuff. And in Israel, I don't know where to get alternative news. Really, Arut Sheva is iffy at best, So at any rate, there is a battle going on. To get back to the main point, there's a battle going on between good and evil in this world, and it seems like evil, is good. Well, as those who are supposed to be loyal to the Torah and those who are supposed to be loyal to Yehovah, we're supposed to be neither naive nor brainwashed nor evil. We're supposed to be completely being unplugged from the matrix, and that means being unplugged from the Western slash, globalist way of thinking. And unfortunately, so many Jews don't even realize how brainwashed they are by that. We're supposed to be unplugged from rabbinical Judaism, another sick and deviant, mode of thought, which has caused Jews to go basically crazy. Someone said yesterday it's like a movement for obsessive compulsive disorder. If you want to express your innate need to have obsessions and compulsions, just become a Karaite Orthodox Jew, and you'll have all the outlets for that you need. And we're supposed to stay true to Yehovah, to Torah, and to the true way of the world He created. So, what am I trying to say here? I guess I'm trying to say here that the battle is joined between good and evil. I don't know when the final act is going to come. I don't know when Yehovah is going to reassert himself and make himself known and come back to this earth in a visible way. Come back to this earth in a visible way and judge the nations, as it says, right? The great and terrible day of Yehovah. It's spoken about in Zechariah. It's spoken about in other places. The nations are going to be judged. Many people are going to die, and then the kingdom of Yehovah will be established on the earth forever and ever, hopefully and ostensibly with those who have been loyal to Him. I feel that I've tried to be loyal to Him as best as I can. I've certainly made my mistakes along the way, but I've sacrificed a lot and never ever given in to the surrounding culture and the surrounding way of thinking. I'm still waiting. Still waiting to get my reward. So far, all I've gotten is a lot of trials and tribulations and punishments, but that's okay. That's part of growing and becoming a better human being and building one's character. At any rate, so that is so the what is going on now is an epic battle between good and evil, as it always has been from the dawn of humanity and from our own lives. And when we think back to when we were little children, right, there were always some good kids and there were always some really nasty kids, and sometimes we were good and sometimes we were nasty. I can remember many times that I was less than a nice person, as a kid, and I can remember many times I was a little angel, and that's part of growing up and being a better person. But it all comes down to the same thing, and this is really the main crux of what I want to say. Okay, it all comes down to the same thing. Evil and good all have the same motivations. Okay, evil is all about lusting after immediate gratification. Okay, and in doing so, okay, giving up what is right and wrong in order to get immediate gratification. We can list what some of those immediate gratifications are, what those gratifications are. Sometimes not immediate, but it's always a lust in that direction, okay? And being good is all about giving up lusts that, and I won't say giving up lust. I'm not an ascetic, and I'm not a Christian. Sex is fun, sex is good, walking in nature is fun, smelling the flowers is fun, eating great meals with good food, that's all fun. So the lust is kind of a loaded word, but what I mean is where that lust contradicts morality, then we're supposed to be in line with morality and not in line with our lusts. So what would be a classic example? I mean, the classic example was I see a wallet drop out of the back pocket of some person, and if I am, it's so simple, it's ridiculous, but if I am a good person, then I'll say, okay, I look in the wallet briefly, and I see this, $1,000 in there, and I say, oh boy, I'd really like that $1,000. I could really use it. I want to buy, a new this or a new that or a new other. But I say, no, I can't. I have to put aside my lust for that money, my desire for that money, my immediate desire for that money, because there's a higher purpose, there's a higher value system, there's a higher thing known as right and wrong, known as morality, and I have to defer my desires, my immediate desires, my lusts, for the morality of not stealing, of not taking someone else's possessions, right? The evil person says, sees the money and says, I want that money. And if they're really evil, they'll say, I'm just going to take the money. And if they're not so evil, they may start rationalizing to themselves. They may say, well, that person's a millionaire and I'm a poor person, or the person, I'm not required technically by the laws of the Torah, by the rabbinical laws. I'm making this up. Maybe there is such a law. I mean, there's so many zillions of rabbinical laws. There probably is. The person dropped the wallet behind him, so he didn't actually see the wallet. So technically, I'm not supposed to return it, etc., etc. But whatever the case may be, however it plays itself out, the evil person will eventually give into his lusts, take the money, and put aside the morality, put aside the moral imperative of not to steal, not to take other people's possessions. Okay, and of course it's very complex. A lot of people, not everyone's perfectly good, not everyone's perfectly evil. I certainly don't claim to be perfectly good. Every day I'm trying to improve myself. I'm sure I do many things wrong. I'm sure every day I do little incorrect things or little evil things, but I know in my heart that I'm not an evil person. I know in my heart that I'm a good person. I hope Yehovah agrees with me. He's the ultimate judge. But at any rate, so that is the nature of good versus evil. The nature of good versus evil is good is to quote a common slang phrase in modern Hebrew. I don't even call it Hebrew because it's a pidgin of Hebrew. I'll call it Israelian language, the modern Israelian language. I've heard some people say, "En li Elohim," I have no God, meaning I do whatever I want. I don't, don't mess with me. I don't give in to anybody, right? And so that's the definition of evil. I do what I want. It's all about me. I take, I kill, I murder, I do whatever I want, right? And the definition of a good person is Yesh li Elohim. I have a God. I know there's a higher purpose. I know there's a right or wrong. I know that I'm eventually going to get judged for it, but even more than that, even if I'm not going to get judged for it, I know that I'm in contact enough, my soul is in contact enough with the creator of the universe, who created these ideas of right and wrong because he wants all his children to love each other. I know that I will not do wrong, and that I will do right, even if it causes me immediate pain and suffering, and maybe causes me pain and suffering throughout my life. Okay, so that's the difference between the nature of good and evil. The evil person is impulsive. He gives into his immediate desires. He doesn't. He's lustful and lusts after whatever he wants, and then just does whatever he can do to grab it, and whatever people he has to hurt on the way, however the earth has to be hurt, the animals have to be hurt, the people around him have to be hurt. That doesn't matter, because it's all about me. I want, and I'll do anything to get it. En li Elohim, I have no God, right? And the good person is just the opposite, right? He will constantly weigh all of his actions against the ineffable, or against the very basic moral fabric of the universe, which comes from a world outside this physical world of illusion, this physical temporary world of illusion, and he'll constantly weigh all his actions against that ruler, against that criteria here. Just my face, so we can change the scenery a little bit, and so that's the difference between the nature of a good person and the nature of an evil person. An evil person cares only about himself, is lustful, is impulsive, pushes aside morality to get whatever he wants whenever he wants it. Okay, a good person is just the opposite. He enjoys the pleasures of life. Right? We're not Christians here. We're not Christian monks. We're not in a monastery. He enjoys the pleasures of life. He enjoys great sex, he enjoys great food, and he enjoys nice wine, enjoys good friends, and all that kind of stuff. But it's all done in moderation, and it's never done in violation of the ineffable principles of the invisible, eternal universe, and outside of this temporary illusion of the physical world, and ultimately meaning the laws and the way that Yehovah has put down in this universe. So, a lot more to say. I'm getting close to my destination where I need to be. So I think at this point I'm going to leave it there, and I'll just pick it up another time. And a lot more to say about this topic. So maybe the next video will be good
versus evil, part 2. But let's leave it at that. Thank you for joining me. This is Chacham Melech Ben Yaakov of Karaite Insights. There he is, Chacham Melech Ben Yaakov, Karaite Insights. And please visit our website at www.qaraiteinsights.com. Follow us on YouTube at the Karaite Insights channel, on Twitter at twitter.com/KaraiteInsights, and of course here on Facebook. And you can join our World Alliance of Qara'im Facebook group. So once again, thank you. This has been Melech Ben Yaakov, and be good.